While everyone is focused on Donald Trump's re-election, another important event is taking shape. A plan for Iran and Saudi Arabia to hold joint naval training in the Red Sea. Even though it may seem unlikely, the Iranian Navy confirmed it today. This is a very important development because the US and Saudi Arabia have generally strong ties and have worked together militarily for a long time. The surprise is even bigger now that a well-known top Saudi general has been to Beijing, where he met with his Iranian colleague to talk about possible military cooperation. This meeting makes the strong case that the planned joint military drill should happen. May Iran and Saudi Arabia's military relationship is growing. On November 10, 2024, Saudi Arabia's Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Fiyad bin Hamd al-Ruwaili met with his Iranian counterpart Major General Mohammad Hussein Bajer in Tann for talks. This visit was a big step forward in the relationship between the two countries, and they talked about improving defense diplomacy and increasing military cooperation between the two countries. General Bagheri stressed the need for more security cooperation and invited the Saudi Navy to take part in Iranian naval exercises next year, either as participants or observers. This move is very important because of the rising tensions between Israel and Iran, which have seen both sides launch missiles and target attacks in recent months. Cooperation between Iran and Saudi Arabia could change the balance in the region, which could either lead to more stability or recalibrating of alliances in response to rising tensions. Before we get into the specifics of this naval exercise, it's important to take a look at the history of the relationship between these two countries, how their relations have recently improved thanks to China's diplomatic efforts within the BRICS framework, and what we know so far about this landmark military cooperation. We'll also look at Iran and Saudi Arabia's naval capabilities and think about how this partnership might affect the Middle East's political situation, especially now that tensions between Israel and Iran are high. Iran diplomatic ties between Iran and Saudi Arabia were officially established on August 24, 1929, when a friendship treaty was signed in Paris. For the next few decades, the two countries kept a generally friendly relationship, focusing on maintaining internal stability and regional peace. However, their relations became tense in the 1940s, especially after an Iranian pilgrim was executed in Saudi Arabia in 1943. This event caused diplomatic ties to be suspended until 1946. In the 1960s, cooperation between Muslim countries grew again. For example, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia and Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi of Iran worked together to promote Islamic unity. This led to the creation of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, in 1969. Its goal was to bring Muslim countries together and help them deal with problems they all faced. In addition, both countries were very important in setting up the Organization of Fuel Trading Countries, OPEC, in 1996, showing that they both wanted to keep oil prices stable and make sure that energy policies were coordinated. They worked together during this time by visiting each other and signing deals, such as the 1968 border agreement that set the line between their submarine areas. Rivalry after the revolution from 1979 to 2000. The 1979 Iranian Revolution changed the relationship between Iran and Saudi Arabia in a big way. Theocratic government was put in place in Iran when it became a Shia Islamic republic under Ayatollah Ruhollah Khamenei. This was very different from Saudi Arabia's Sunni monarchy. This ideological difference made both countries see each other as a threat and compete with each other throughout the 1980s. The Iraq War, which lasted from 1980 to 1988 because they wanted to balance out Iran's power, Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states gave Iraq a lot of money. It is thought that Saudi Arabia gave about $25 billion to Iraq's war effort. Away from the battlefield, both countries tried to show that they were the leaders of the Islamic world. Iran's revolutionary government actively promoted its model of Islamic governance by supporting movements in countries with large Shia populations. In response, Saudi Arabia stepped up its promotion of Wahhabism by investing billions of dollars in religious institutions and educational programs around the world to counter Iran's ideological reach. During this time, there were also proxy wars, with Iran and Saudi Arabia backing opposite sides in regional disputes. This made their competition stronger and changed the Middle East's political scene as efforts were made to warm up ties. 1990s. During the 1987 Hajj trip, There was a terrible event where Iranian travelers and Saudi security forces fought and more than 400 people, including more than 200 Iranians, died. This event put a lot of stress on relations between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and they cut off official links in 1988. This was done after an earthquake in Iran that killed about 40,000 people. Saudi Arabia sent aid to help people in need, showing that they were ready to fix their relationship. This act made it possible for formal ties to be restored in 1991. When Mohammad Khatami was elected as president of Iran in 1997, it was a big step toward change and unity in the region. The Khatami administration pushed for dialogue and better relationships with neighboring countries, such as Saudi Arabia. In 1999, Khatami made a historic trip to Saudi Arabia, the first by an Iranian president since the 1979 revolution. This showed that both countries wanted to improve their relationship with each other, and the two countries held diplomatic talks and signed agreements to work together in a number of areas. Get over old grudges and work together to make things better. Connections in the region. Let's stop for a moment. If you like the movie so far, could you do us a small favor? Clicking the like button helps us reach more people, and leaving comments with your thoughts or feedback has an even bigger effect. Thanks for watching, and now let's get back to it. A return of fighting. The U.S. attack of Iraq in 2003 and the events that followed had a big impact on the politics of the Middle East and led to the creation of a secret government in Iraq. This made Saudi Arabia even more worried about Iran's growing power in the area, especially since Syria built strong ties with Baghdad's new government. As the Arab Spring began in 2011, the conflict between Iran and Saudi Arabia in Syria got even worse. Iran gave a lot of help to President Bashar al-Assad's government, while Saudi Arabia backed different groups in Yemen that were trying to get rid of him. Iran was blamed for helping the Houthi rebels, a Shia-led group, while Saudi Arabia led an alliance that was fighting them in battle. Tensions rose dramatically in January 2016 when Saudi Arabia executed Sheikh Nimr al-Nimr, a well-known Shia cleric and vocal critic of the Saudi government. His execution led to widespread protests in Iran, which culminated in attacks on the Saudi embassy in Tehran and the consulate in Mashhad. In response, Saudi Arabia cut diplomatic ties with Iran, which was a big step backward in their relationship. These events show how deeply religious and political problems have been in Iran for a long time. In the early 21st century, Saudi Arabia and other countries in the region were both trying to control the area through direct and indirect actions. In March 2023, the two countries renewed their formal ties. The world was surprised when Saudi Arabia and Iran restored diplomatic ties with the help of China. This was a positive step forward, as both countries reopened embassies and started talking about security and stability in the Red Sea region. While optimism is still low, especially when it comes to conflicts like Yemen, this accusation marks a possible turning point. China chose to broker the talks between Saudi Arabia and Iran for a number of strategic, economic, and political reasons. As the world's biggest oil buyer, China has big energy needs, and both Saudi Arabia and Iran are important energy providers. Stability in the Middle East is important for China's energy security. Promoting peace between Iran and Saudi Arabia lowers the risk of regional problems that could threaten oil supplies by making it easier for the two countries to get along. China wants to make sure it has stable energy sources and good trade relationships with both countries. By successfully mediating a deal between these two rivals, China was able to show off its growing political power on the world stage, especially in the Middle East, which has usually been a US and its allies' stronghold. China showed that it could be an option. Power on a global scale that can promote peace and discussion. China's Belt and Road Plan, which aims to connect Asia, Europe, and Africa through economic and building projects, sees the Middle East as an important area. Stability in the area would make trade lines run more smoothly and protect investments, especially those with Iran and Saudi Arabia along key BR pathways. China is arranging the talks between Saudi Arabia and Iran as a strategic move to offset the US's power in the area as the US changes its Middle Eastern policies and gets less involved directly. China has seen a chance to step in and help keep things stable. In order to gain trust and power in the region, China has become a stronger supporter of multilateralism and diplomatic solutions to global problems. It often stresses non-interference and partnership mediation between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which is in line with these principles and helps China's image as a supporter of peaceful solutions through dialogue. A plan for a joint naval drill and what it means. The back Admiral Shia Irani recently brought up the fact that Saudi Arabia wants to hold a joint naval drill in the Red Sea. Each country has also extended invitations to visit ports, showing a desire to strengthen ties. Meetings are being set up to finalize the details of the exercise, which could help keep the peace in the region and boost confidence if it goes ahead. This would be the third time that Saudi Arabia and Iran have worked together militarily. In 2018, the two countries took part in an exercise in the Indian Ocean called the Coalition of Friendship. Recently, Saudi Arabia joined an Iranian-led drill in the southern Persian Gulf. The planned exercises are important, especially since tensions with Israel are rising. Iran's latest missile tests and drone attacks have made people more worried about possible Israeli response. After years of fighting, Iran and Saudi Arabia are now working together again. This could be a strategy change toward regional security that makes it less likely that Iran will be involved in a bigger conflict. These drills also show off Saudi Arabia's military power and send a message to Israel and other countries. For Saudi Arabia, keeping the peace between Iran and Israel is important because unrest threatens its oil-based economy and regional influence. Iran and Saudi Arabia's naval abilities and long-term goals. Plan for Iran's navy. To fight the regime and Western powers, Iran's navy uses asymmetric strategies. Its naval structure includes both the regular navy, which is called Iran, and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, or IRGCN. The IRGCN focuses on the Strait of Hormuz and uses fast attack boats, mines, 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 unmanned systems. Iran's navy puts defense and adaptability first. How Saudi Arabia's navy works. On the other hand, Saudi Arabia, the Royal Navy, gets new equipment from its friends in the West and has two ships, one in the Gulf and one in the Red Sea. Advanced ships like the multi-mission surface fighter and the Avante 2200 corvettes help the Saudi military with both air defense and sea fighting. The Defense of the Kingdom vision is in line with its Vision 2030 strategy, which aims to make the country more self-sufficient and improve strategic and economic cooperation in the defense industry through bricks and mortar. In 2024, Iran and Saudi Arabia joined the BRICS group. This showed that they wanted to work together on economic projects with big oil providers like Russia and China. Putting them in BRICS shows that both countries want to become less reliant on Western financial systems and that Iran wants to find a way to lessen the effects of international sanctions. Becoming a part of the BRICS group fits with Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 plans for economic growth and gives Iran chances to make investments. Both countries see the economic ties between the BRICS as a way to keep their political relationships stable and ease tensions in the region. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If our content spoke to you or inspired you, please show your support by liking it and following to stay in touch with our community.